All right. Good evening. Welcome in. It is SEC After Dark. Glad to be here. Glad you're with us, joining alongside of me on this magical mystery tour. Did I get that right, Steve? It's Steve
Yes.
Willis and Jeb Beecham. Jeb, what do you think of the dark mode Tennessee jerseys or uniforms, I should say? I'm here
Uh,
for it.
I am too. I've been kind of back and forth with some more traditionalist fans that don't like the alternate jerseys, but I love the black. I think it looks great. I love the helmets they're wearing with it. I think they wanted to try and figure out a way to do black helmets. It didn't really work, but I love what ended up being put together. I think it's gonna be fun.
They didn't need the black helmets, and it's
Yeah,
2021. If you're a person that doesn't like alternate uniforms, out.
I agree.
The door's over there. Go.
I agree. I enjoyed the
Alternate
smoke
uniforms are
grays.
cool. I
I like
mean,
the black.
yeah, absolutely. Steve, how we doing, bud?
We're doing quite well. As you can see, I've got houndstooth all behind me because I do pay my debt and pay off my bets and do things like that. And Alabama kind of bullied around Ole Miss this weekend, but that seemed to be a kind of a trend in college football. Where it comes to bullying around the third and the fourth best team in the conference. Because let's just be honest, in college football, there's one, there's two, there's like 300 feet of crap, and then there's the rest of college football.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I mean, we got a great show lined up for you guys. We are on Willis Digital Media here, Positively Ole Miss YouTube channel, and apparently simulcast on my channel, the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast network channel. So we're excited about that. We're excited about some new chapters being opened up. Our social information scroll right below you. Hit that bell, subscribe to either one of those channels, and you'll catch us. You can also find me on Beasts of the East on most Monday nights. Sometimes we have to change. Sometimes we have to hit an audible, but most of the time you'll find us on Monday nights. You can find our associate producer, Jake Thomas, on Best of the West. Him and Kevin Bohannon do a outstanding job with their show, and you can also find me on Believe in Georgia Dogs. So we are home, and this is, of course, is home of the Palmcast and the other 18,000 shows that Steve's got going on his channel. Lots of great content if you want it. It's all free. It's all for the fan, by the fan, and it's all authentic, and it's the best content you're going to get because we're not starving for money. We're not thirsty. We're not digging for content. We're not doing any of that. We're giving you our real, authentic opinions. And if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else, and that's perfectly okay. If you want manufactured nonsense driven down your throat, by all means, go for it. Take it with a grain of salt, but you don't have to take us with a grain of salt. You can straight shoot us. All right, so like I said, got a great show lined up for you here on SEC After Dark. We're going to recap Week 5 very briefly. One word describes most of the games in this conference, which is ass kicking. And then preview some of Week 6 biggest games. And, of course, we make our Saturday selections. I got a bonus pick for you guys. It's going to be a surprise. It might not be when I tell you, but it's going to be a surprise. So, let's start Alabama Ole Miss. Alabama came out. Lane Kiffin said, "Get your popcorn ready." Then they proceeded to jump out to a 35-0 lead before Ole Miss really decided to punch back. It was one of those where Alabama just jumped on them. The biggest thing that stood out to me was how aggressive Lane Kiffin was on fourth down early in the game. Do you think that cost the Rebels?
Yeah, I think Lane panicked a little bit. I think Lane genuinely wanted to beat Nick Saban, and that kind of affected his decision makings late in the second quarter. Because I do think it was 2 touchdowns there. Just there was that touchdown after going forward on your 29. The first play back, Matt Corral fumbles. They score a touchdown. The game's over. So I think that plays a role. Now, I will say that to say this. Ole Miss did exactly what they needed to do in the days leading up to the Alabama game. Ole Miss does not need to see an Alabama team that is down. They want to see Alabama at their absolute best. Alabama was 21 points better this time. Next year, let's get them at their best and try and get them to 14 points better. Because if you can beat Alabama at their best, You can beat anybody in the country. That needs to be the measuring stick. That needs to be the gold standards. And people do not need to hope that Bama might overlook them whenever they were half-heartedly playing Ole Miss 2 or 3 years ago and beating them 66-3.
Absolutely, and our chat is blazing already. Jake is on there. Jeb, I guess we're gonna have to answer for our picks here. He said, "When I say quote, when I say Ole Miss will cover, listen to when I say Alabama, excuse me, listen to me. I can understand why Steve picked Ole Miss, but I said Bama would cover." Well,
you also said Mizzou would cover.
You did. Look how that happened. When I say Mizzou won't cover, listen to me. All right? Mizzou sucks. They're not very good.
I'm just messing with you, Jake. Just messing with you.
I love it. Jake, we love you. But the reason I picked Ole Miss is because, I can't speak for Jeb. Maybe I can. I don't know. I just think they have an explosive offense. I thought they would have kept it close, but I didn't know Lane Kiffin was going to poke the bear that much, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's been an old rule of mine whenever we're making our picks is generally you take Alabama to cover because they almost always do. I get it. But, Ole Miss has played better than that. Alabama had not really been playing up to that level, I don't think, to that point. But they turned it on Saturday. It was,
they found some things.
Good win. Yeah.
Those questions, whatever
think
questions
about
we
this.
had, they answered them.
Yeah,
Alabama completely changed the way they played football because they had to. They've been going up and doing just their stuff, and that was good enough to win everything. Ole Miss got them to return to playing bully ball with Brian Robinson with 36 carries because that was the way that Nick Saban knew he could win, and he didn't want to risk it going at them just normally with that. That's the amazing thing. Alabama dominated this game, but they dominated this game in a different way than they normally dominate games. And, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah, because I figured if they would have turned that thing into a track meet, then we probably would have been right. Ole Miss would have covered. Mm-hmm. Alabama probably would have still won. But Ole Miss, had a couple cosmetic touchdowns. But let's face it, it was 42-7 before, before you could blink into the fourth quarter, and so that game wasn't as close as we think. But yeah, bully ball.
It wasn't as bad as it looked either because I'm going forward at his own 29-yard line and doing things like that. There are little things both ways that the result was somewhere in the middle.
And Lane Kiffin's defense, that does tend to work for him sometimes against a lot of teams. It did not work at all this Saturday.
No, it didn't. And so Alabama playing the bully ball thing is great because that's they just said, you know what, we're just going to line up, we're going to punch you in the mouth. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. And Brian Robinson showed that he has the capability of being an elite back. Now he needs to keep that going. I never said Bama isn't elite. I was more complimenting Ole Miss on that deal, but I thought Matt Corral was going to have. I thought Matt Corral was going to, I thought he was going to make a huge, huge difference. But like I said, momentum is a hell of a thing, man. Once you get it, especially in a place like Bryant-Denny Stadium, it's brutal, man, and it is insurmountable. And they, after that first fourth down stop, I was like, okay, Ole Miss better hold on because this is gonna get bumpy for a minute. And then, they had a few more mistakes in the first half, and I was like, okay, this is getting ugly.
Corey, what do you think about the fact that Jerry and Ely hardly played after getting stopped on that fourth down?
I thought it was a little bit premature. I thought he should have been more part of the game plan. I thought he could have affected the game later on down the road, and I don't know. I think they panicked a little bit and went away from it.
Yeah,
I think Ole Miss got shell shocked and they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I think Lane panicked a little bit in that game. He'll never admit it, and that'll never be said, and they'll blame it on the book, and they'll talk about analytics and all that. Mm-hmm. I think Lane panicked a little bit in that game, and that took a game that was probably going to be 21-0 at halftime. Let's just say 21-0, made it 28-0 with Alabama getting the ball to make it immediately 35-0. The game was essentially over, and that's because of that little bit of panicking. there's a time when it comes together. Analytics be damned, but you're playing the number one team. You're a 15-point dog on the road. Punt the ball and make them drive. Your defense is supposed to be far improved. Let's find out.
And then go
Because
back to Jaron Ely on the flip side of that too. I mean, you can't go away from one of your best weapons because he got stopped on a fourth down. Like, come on. Like unless there was something we didn't see, the TV cameras didn't catch of him like melting down and telling every coach to f off and take their mother to Fuddruckers. Whatever those cases may be. I don't know if any of that transpired, but if it didn't, I mean that's just bad coaching there. You got to stick with your best weapon and do what you do. Because if you do what you do, you still give yourself a chance. Like if you do what you do, and again, you have to take big risk if you're 15-point dogs. You just have to. But you just got to know when to take those risks and when's a good time. Go up 3-0, make out kick off to Alabama, make them go ahead and get those early points. Maybe things go differently. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe it becomes 35-3 at halftime instead of 35-0. Who knows? But or maybe it's a tight game at halftime. You never know. So you got to take points when you get them. You got to you got to try to make Bama drive the field when they can, and you just got to you got to be aggressive when it calls for it.
mm-hmm.
I think Lane Kiffin watched too much Presbyterian football. Before that, the guy who never punts. So I think he watched that YouTube series. Maybe I don't know, but Georgia Arkansas, a game a noon kick that I watched. Game day was it was a really good game day. I thought, and I don't usually say that. I'm usually like, man, game day's kind of weak. And the last time it was in Athens, it was kind of weak. But this time it was the two locations and things, the way they did the show was really good. But when you come to the game, the bad omen for Arkansas in that game was the 2 false start penalties to start the game. They immediately start in 1st and 20. Not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Then they take a sack on 3rd down, punt it away. Georgia crams it down their throat, 7-0. Rinse and repeat. Georgia crams it down their throat, 14-0. Rinse, repeat. Georgia blocks a punt in the end zone, 21-0, and that's all she wrote basically. And Georgia played bully ball the rest of the way, and it was just total sheer domination up front, and Arkansas had nothing they could do about it.
Yeah. Real quick, Joe. 3 teams before Georgia, this Georgia team, gave up less than 1,000 yards through 5 games. This Georgia team did that. The other 3 won the national title, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
You told me coming into this game, Arizona would come out. Arkansas. Wow. I don't know where that came from. Arkansas would come out with basically a balanced offense as far as passing, rushing yards, and that Georgia's backup quarterback would have to play the game and would only complete 7 passes. I'd have thought this was a lot different game than what we saw, but it just wasn't. Their balanced offense was neither their rushing or passing got anywhere in this game. And then Stetson just didn't have to throw the ball much. It was very impressive. Georgia, like you said, and they got up early with some Arkansas mistakes, and then they just crammed the ball down there throughout the rest of the game.
And that was the plan from Jump Street. Like they wanted to, they're wanting to have that bully ball card in their pocket. They've used it, and they like to use it. And they've won games through the air, like South Carolina. They beat them through the air. For the most part, JT Daniels had a tremendous game against them, so they're winning in different ways. And then, of course, the defense is just freaking out, just ridiculous.
Shutting out Vanderbilt last week wasn't exactly a huge accomplishment, but doing it to Arkansas, this defense is just scary good.
Averaging 4 points a game given up for this defense. It's ridiculous.
That's amazing.
The runaway industrial fridge in Jordan Davis, his backup nose guard blocked 3 people, and Nakobe Dean might be one of the best linebackers in the conference. Will JT be back this week? Not sure. Those lat injuries are they can be pretty pesky. He could be back this week. He could be out till Florida. I'm not real sure. I hope he's back because we're going to need him on the plains. And if not, Stetson beat the hell out of Auburn last year anyway. So I'm not all that worried at this point with Stetson Bennett, to be honest with you. So it is what it is. But there's not a whole lot to say about this Georgia game other than it was just Zamir White, James Cook, Kenny McIntosh, Chris Milton, or Kendall Milton. Chris Milton's the father. And Stetson being able to just sit back and just enjoy this victory and not having to have a big role and have a lot of weight on his shoulders was something that this Georgia team needed.
Let's roll this back a little bit. Do they have two Kendalls playing running back?
No.
Is it Kendall McIntosh?
It's Kenny McIntosh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Kenny McIntosh and Kendall.
I thought you said Kendall McIntosh, and then you said the other guy's name. Was like, that would be so weird to have a team with two running backs named Kendall.
Yeah, it would be.
You gotta feel a little rough for Arkansas though. They've had just a great start to the season, and then just to run this brick wall and just get smacked back down to reality that's rough.
Yeah, and Arkansas's had a tremendous season. I don't think anybody expected them to be ranked. I thought maybe they were ranked a little high.
Yeah,
I was saying this on Beast of the East. I think they were ranked a little high, but nonetheless, tremendous. Like if you're an Arkansas fan, you can't be disappointed. So
it's just a rough way to get reminded you're not going to make a run in the SEC this year.
Yeah, not a fun way to get knocked back down to earth for sure. But we'll hear plenty of times. We'll hear Sam Pittman say, "Turn that damn jukebox on." So, what beverages are on tap tonight? Land Shark. All right.
Well, and I bet you can't guess where I'm staying right now because I've also got Land Shark.
Oh, good Lord.
But my house might be ready by next week.
That is.
Never know.
That is tremendous. Yeah, that is very, very good. I am finishing. I had kind of a later dinner tonight, so I'm finishing my non-alcoholic beverage there from dinner. Right there.
Non-sugar.
So, yeah, sometimes during football season, like I like if I drink a sip of alcohol, I'd be like this.
Yeah. I don't think you dance either, so whatever.
You've seen me dance, Steve. It's not pretty, but I was much younger then. I would use what's called the buckshot approach.
That is a factual statement, actually. Mm-hmm. We used to actually make fun of Corey quite a bit for the buckshot approach.
Is that just throw everything you got into it and see what happens?
There could be a gaggle of girls, and he's going to one of them is going to work on, but he's going to try and hit all of them with his approach. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no risk it, no biscuit, right?
That's true.
Yeah. No risk it, no
Nothing wrong
biscuit.
with casting a wide net.
You got to, man. You gotta shoot. Like I bring new meaning to shoot your shot here. So there you go. You guys ought to see me dance to Uptown Funk. What are you waiting for, Jake? TikTok. Let's see it. Y'all's Land Shark drinks. LOL. Yeah, they're. I mean, they're about as on brand with Ole Miss as you possibly can get.
Well, Jed's wearing his Tennessee jersey. He's ready for the third Saturday in October already.
I see he's rocking his Rick Clausen jersey.
Yeah. Not many weeks I feel comfortable wearing this. I'm just saying now. Big win. We might actually get another win this Saturday.
Talk about it, man. Tyon Evans, Jeb. What, holy cow.
Yeah, it's a just kind of a negative statement on where we've been as a program that I think it was at least halftime before I started feeling really good about that game. And that should not have been the way it was because that first quarter was just outstanding. But this is just Josh Heupel's offense actually working. And it's impressive when it works. I wish we could do it against better teams, and maybe we'll get lucky against Kentucky, someone good. We'll see.
Well, you got South Carolina this week.
Yeah, and this I think will be the week that really determines if Tennessee can maybe get the bowl eligibility. Because if they can beat South Carolina, they still got South Alabama and Vandy, which should be wins. Gets them to 6. So this is a big week for Tennessee football.
I don't care who Vandy's playing. I'm not picking them to cover again.
Yeah,
never again. No.
No.
I don't care if they're playing. I don't care if they're playing Hillwood.
Yeah.
They're not.
Oh.
They're
Yeah.
not going to cover.
You
Well, they
could-
might
there's
cover.
no reason
They
for
would.
that.
You need a game-winning field goal to beat UConn?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
UConn
Sorry, Barton.
just discovered they play football. So,
We'll just
but
Barton's,
Steve, did I?
Barton's like, whoa,
Whoa, bro. Like,
whoa.
whoa.
It's like a
They play
field goal to
football.
win, bro.
Like they play football up there, apparently. Whoa, bro. Told y'all on that one too. Jake's gloating a little bit. Jake picked you. It was more about UConn. Like I thought
Yeah.
UConn was so putrid that they couldn't I thought it was going to be like 14-0. Like that's how I thought this game was going to be, or like 17-0. I didn't think UConn was going to score.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Boy, was I wrong.
It wasn't that I thought Vandy was going to play well. It's just that UConn was terrible.
Yeah.
But it turns out they know how to play football.
It's
They just don't
Vandy
do it
guys.
very well. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but it's
Vandy has
UConn.
showed us. Yeah, like UConn is kind of like
Generationally bad. And this
they're
might be the
bad.
worst. Vandy might be the worst SEC team, maybe in my lifetime. That's the result from that UConn game. I came away thinking.
Yeah, this is definitely ever since Vandy's had some pretty putrid teams, but this might be the most putrid team I've ever seen. And they fought like they're lifeless, man. They follow Clark Lee's demeanor on the sideline. They're just freaking lifeless, man. Like I'm not sure that he even blinks.
He's a robot.
He's a robot. He's a droid.
I am an analytical coach. Do what I say. We need to get
Activate.
fired up, guys. 3rd and 7. Let them convert.
This is Clark. I don't even think he talks either. This is Clark Lee on the sideline.
I am a coaching robot.
Oh,
Every once in a while, he
Only
moves
I
his
can
eyes.
say Vanderbilt.
Occasionally, he moves his eyes to let you know he's not dead. So yeah, Vandy, never again. Never again.
I don't care what the line is, as you will find out this week.
You will find out. So, but yeah, Tennessee was impressive. Kentucky, man, like I was like, I left Kentucky for dead, like thinking, well, they're gonna turn it over 3 more times because Todd Grantham's defense kind of does that kind of thing. But man,
crazy thing
they
about
showed
that,
me
I don't even think they played that well. They just
Yeah.
they didn't.
Somehow
They had
won
like
the
200
game.
yards of total offense.
yeah. it
Like
was-
Dan Mullen thinks he outcoached Mark Stoops, but
Yeah.
it's hard to outcoach somebody when you lose.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
it-
and when
it
they
did-
play that poorly and you lose, yeah, no, you can't claim moral victories on that.
The toxicity coming out of Florida right now, the Florida Georgia rivalry is going to get out of hand, especially with Kirby on the other side.
Oh,
And-
Kirby. Yes,
And
he's petty.
yeah,
He's
you can already see Dan Mullen's up to the same tricks he played at Mississippi State, and it's just destined for toxicity. Florida played well enough to win. It was just a blocked field goal return for a touchdown is the reason they lost that game. Kentucky didn't do anything special. I just think Florida came back to earth and might be like a 7-5 team this year. I mean, that could be the talent level. Just thank goodness they're in the East.
Yeah, exactly. They like if they were in the West, dude, they'd be last place. Like I'm not sure that
We'll find out next week when they play LSU if they're last place, because that's the last place team in the West.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and LSU may lay the smackdown on them. That might be the game that saves Coach O for at least a year. Well, maybe not, but
Coach O's getting fired after he might get fired Sunday night because they're losing to Kentucky.
do tell.
They're losing to
They're-
Kentucky.
You think they're gonna like?
Listen to this.
fire him.
They have Kentucky this week. Next week they have Florida. The week after they go to Ole Miss. The week after that they play Bama. The week after that they play Arkansas. This
Yeah.
is over.
Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're gonna fire him yet. I think
Oh,
they're gonna
oh,
fire
oh,
him
yeah.
after the season.
I think they're going to fire him midseason, and they're bringing somebody like Steve Ensminger that there's no chance can have the job because they've already married the babysitter once. They've already done that. They need somebody to take the job that there's no chance they're going to get it, go out and just do a reset in college football. And somebody like James Franklin might be a fit for that position.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I see them resetting. I don't see them resetting with James.
Oh, if they lose to Kentucky, it's going to go nuclear in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, there's
I'm
no
not
doubt
saying
about
they're going
that.
to fire him, but yeah, it's already primed.
It's getting there. Yeah, it's getting
Yeah.
to that point. I agree with you on that. They like the way they lost to Auburn is not ideal. You know, they they can't like
They made Bo Nix look like Johnny Football.
They did, or I mean we had a guest on our Believe a Dog show and he, you know, LSU gave them the ability to compare Bo Nix to Brett Favre. Brett Favre, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny, but Dan Rogers was a great guest. He's pretty knowledgeable. He works. He's a sales rep at CoachCom, the headset system. So he's pretty good knowledge. He's an Auburn fan, and friend of Israel. So we had him on and thought it'd be fun. He was a good guest, but that Brett Favre thing made me LOL and raffle.
Well, listen to this also before we move on. Besides Joe Burrow, which was an excellent thing, Coach O probably got him because he's a transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the players were players like Justin Jefferson, who was a 2-star LSU legacy. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire was a 3-star kid from the Baton Rouge area. Players that would have went to LSU anyway. So my assertion is 2019 would have happened no matter who the coach was.
I don't doubt you on that.
Maybe as long as that offensive coordinator was there anyway.
Joe Brady, Joe Brady probably helped, and O gets credit for hiring him.
Yeah.
But if Joe Moorhead is the coach of LSU in 2019, they probably win the national championship because Joe Moorhead and Joe Brady do a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, it's all like that spread option stuff, which is actually pretty interesting stuff. If you really watch Oregon, I know they lost to Stanford. They just came out really flat.
Pac-12 after dark.
There you go. Now we're Pac-12 after dark. Jeb is thinking. Jeb had Pac-12 bottom feeders on his mind for some reason, but if you really watch Oregon, they're really like what they do is really, really cutting edge. It's really interesting stuff. If you study them against Ohio State, they put a lot of guys in conflict, and it's really, really good. Really, really cool and interesting. I would love to do a deeper dive, maybe a boot camp Oregon offense.
Ooh.
In the off season, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can do that in the off season.
Just pick like a random offense and break it down. Let's see what it's like. Doesn't necessarily have to be SEC. Although Joe Moorhead does have some SEC ties, formerly of Mississippi State. But and speaking of Mississippi State, boom, you see that segue?
Yes.
Paul Blart is jealous of my segue. But now I'm going next level. But Mississippi State, man, like they're on a roll, dude. They're playing some pretty good football.
Texas A&M was the first team this season to fall into the trap of not playing drop 8 against Mississippi State. They decided to man them up. Mike Leach ate them up because every play is a man beater. And he used that, and next thing you know, Will Rogers is SEC Player of the Week.
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's literally just drop 8. That's all you can do. But you'd be surprised at the people that don't have the patience to do that.
Do you think Mike Leach was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you really playing man? Okay.
Every play's a man beater.
Hey, Will, you want to be SEC Player of the Week? Here you go. They're playing man coverage. Just run 92 mesh the whole time. And then I'll go to the press conference and talk about like owls and like wildlife shit. Pardon my French.
Definitely different when Mississippi State caught LSU off guard last year. Nobody was expecting it, or at least the coaches weren't. But yeah, no, this time that's crazy. To win a game of 400 yards passing and like 30 yards rushing. I mean, that's Mississippi State, and that's Mike Leach's system. But I can't believe they weren't ready for that.
Texas A&M let Mike Leach.
And he
Absolutely
even
did.
the defense, so.
And that isn't exactly the reason why they were not a top 10 worthy team when the season started. Because if the defense has that much of an ego, the defensive coordinator to think they can do that, they are no way going to finish in the top 10. They're always going to have a slip up.
And a and I don't know if you clicked this, Steve. I might give you credit, but a perfect graphic that came up said that Texas A&M was minus 18 against Bama at home. It's pretty sad when you're 18-point underdogs at Kyle Field.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
That
And
might
everybody is going to take Bama to cover that line because they're expecting it to be 49-14.
I'm not picking against Bama this time.
Yeah, no,
We'll not do it, especially this week. We'll not do it.
No, the rest of the year I'm picking Georgia and Bama, and I don't care what the line is. I don't care who they're playing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They can name their points in different ways. Bama too. Like Bama and Georgia are the same team. Same exact ball club.
Oh, I want to bring this up before we move on to like week 6 and start talking about that.
Oh yeah, there is week 6.
This is the year for a 12-team playoff, right? 1 and 2 is so dominating that you need some stuff to build up the ratings going through so people will watch. A 4-team playoff, people aren't going to really pay attention. There's not going to be an interest because it's going to be set up to where Alabama is playing somebody. Okay, they're expecting Alabama to win that. Georgia's playing somebody. They're expecting Georgia to win that. And it's just a ho-hum game to get to the championship game. This is the year for a 12-team playoff because you can actually care about those semifinal games, much like the NCAA tournament, deal with the drama and everything going back and forth. And then once it's Alabama and Georgia in the final, you still get that, and it turns out to be a good game.
And I would love to see Cincinnati and Coastal in the tournament and see if they can make a run. Like Coastal is, like you paying attention to Coastal Carolina? They're steamrolling. I know they're playing like Little Sisters of the Poor every week, but they're steamrolling.
Tomorrow night, Coastal versus Appy State.
I'm a Chanticleer fan. Tomorrow, that I love watching Coastal.
I like the fact that it's like a combination of the Service Academy spread mixed in with the Wake Forest spread from back in the day, and they just find a way to make it work. It's something that shouldn't really work together, but Grayson McCall is just a heck of a quarterback. We're doing Sunbelt After Dark at the moment.
Yeah. Fun Belt.
Fun
Jake,
Belt After Dark.
I know Coastal would get killed by UJ and Bama. Yes, we know that. But it'd be fun to see them in this tournament, like in a lead-up game before that. Yeah. Like, Coastal could probably get Iowa.
Yeah.
They wouldn't
Oklahoma. They wouldn't play UGA Bama in a 12-team playoff until the second round. That means they beat somebody if they play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see Coastal versus.
It would be like the 15 seed upsetting the number 2 seed and then getting the number 1 seed in the next round.
Yeah, just getting absolutely boat raced in the next round. That's fun because you've already won. It might as well be a national championship for Coastal Carolina if they pull off that win. Because right now they would probably get somebody like Penn State. An opening game against Penn State. Penn State isn't going to boat race Coastal.
No. Coastal has a chance in that game.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati may legit win the Big 12 this year. Like, if they were in the Big 12. They would probably legitimately win the Big 12.
Cincinnati is legitimately the number 3 seed right now. So, in a world where we have a 12-team playoff, they've got to bye.
That's scary. And then BYU gets in too, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd love to see BYU and Michigan. That'd be a fun game to see.
Yeah, it would.
Two contrasting styles. I'd like to watch that game. But this is where we need a 12-team playoff. We just absolutely do. Everybody's going to talk about the 2 teams that can win it. That's fine. If we end up at Georgia and Alabama, so be it. But to have these other games in the competition to try to win it, it'd be more interesting.
You build up. You got more teams that are emotionally involved. Like the guys aren't opting out if they're in the tournament. Let's be honest. I mean, some guys might. They're just going to opt out.
They shouldn't be opting out, period, because they're getting paid for it now.
Yeah. So, Yeah, they're getting paid handsomely now. So if they make the tournament, I'm sure there's some bonuses lined up on that. But it just it brings more interest. Like if you're Iowa trying to recruit, like, hey, we get in the tournament. You think more kids are going to sign up to go to Iowa? Yeah, probably. Like some of these G5 schools, like Coastal might get the call up to the ACC, like based on this tournament.
Yeah. Hey, Coastal is I guarantee, in the crosshairs of the American. Them in Louisiana, absolutely in the crosshairs of the American right now.
Yeah, they should be.
Sunbelt, they're talking about Conference USA could be going after Southern Miss and maybe somebody like Louisiana Tech. You may be seeing the collapse. The conference that ends from this round of realignment is going to
Southern
be
Miss
Conference
already.
USA. No, they're in Conference USA at the moment. Because they were one of the original members back when Conference USA was like legit. They had Louisville and TCU and those guys back in the day.
Yeah.
And what became the American, essentially.
Yeah. So so we're saying the Sun Belt's going to dissolve? Is that what you're saying?
No. Conference USA is going to dissolve. The Sun Belt is positioning themselves to be very, very relevant. They're going to go after USM and Marshall.
And they should. They should. Georgia State's proven to be a pretty viable ball club there. They've surpassed their other mid-major Georgia ball club in Georgia Southern. So the Sun Belt's, they call it the Fun Belt. But let's get into week 6 before we make this SEC into the morning.
Seriously.
See what I did there. Well, our 2:30 CBS game this week. We'll start there. It's Jake Thomas's Auburn Tigers hosting the
huge
Georgia
Auburn
Bulldogs.
guy. Huge Auburn guy.
Yeah, he's probably going to be there front row with his
Seriously,
shaker.
I heard he walks around in a Bo Nix jersey. I can't confirm that.
No, it's not a Bo. Wrong Bo.
No. He framed the Bo Jackson jersey.
Oh.
Yeah. War Eagle, Jake.
War Eagle, yes. Let's see how many vomit emojis we can get here. For some reason, it's always tight. I don't know why. I can't explain it. No matter how much it's killed Georgia, and there's years where like the Lions is just does wacky things. Game got away from them, and that was the year they played in the national championship. The Deep South oldest rivalry, but to me.
Yeah, as long as the bus driver does not get lost, the defense that you would expect to be able to shut them down, I think Auburn can be bully balled a little bit. And the thing that they always had, and something you didn't really see, they blocked it a certain way. Everything that happened, it became their defense. And Georgia's defense is going to be, I don't know,
your whole like Adam Anderson is faster than your quarterback. Like this Nolan Smith, who's a little bit heavier. But the same type of frame. Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean.
He'll just write him down.
To put this one in the back pocket, Steve. Just think about this. You can keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, we don't really get that one.
Stetson's going to have. I don't think Stetson's going to be able to complete only. I don't see any reason why they don't cover this. Yeah, it's gonna be blown wide. So yeah, the stream. So yeah, let's move on. Oh, Steve, pull that note out of your back pocket. I told you to pull. Are you concerned with the lack of production?
People are making a little bit of a mountain out of a molehill, a little bit of production, because with Connor Neely is replaced by Henry Parrish, the Ontario Drummond. So you get all the production from Ontario. Hurt them a little bit last week. Maybe replacing Jonathan Mingo. Then the Parrish thing, and I think they just genuinely like Henry Parrish Jr. I don't think it's a Connor thing. I don't think it's an Ely thing. I think they just genuinely like Henry Parrish Jr.
It's like Brian Flores liking Malcolm Brown over Myles Gaskin, which I don't understand. Not to go Dolphins after dark here, but Jeb, like what chances does Arkansas have in this game? Like, what is their edge here? What is their angle?
I don't know. I think a lot of stuff did not work for Ole Miss against Alabama, but it's stuff that does normally work, and I think they're going to get back on the ball this week, and that offense is going to look a lot better than it did. Arkansas though is strong up front, good rushing, good at controlling the line, so they probably can slow down the game a tad. I think. I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep up with Ole Miss, but I still like Arkansas. They're still playing really well. I know that they had a very bad week. This is two teams that kind of got bullied by the number one and number two of the league, but both of them will be looking to get back on track. I just think Ole Miss is a little bit better talent-wise in this.
Yeah, I don't want people to fall in the trap to saying, well, we thought Ole Miss was something, they suck, or we thought Arkansas was something and they suck. They certainly don't suck. Like both teams are very electric. You know, Ole Miss is a very fast-paced, high-tempo, high-octane offense. Arkansas there's a little bit more of a physical approach, but they're kind of the same mindset where they're going to go tempo a little bit, but they're a little bit more physical. They probably run the quarterback a little bit more, and they probably incorporate those pages of the system, whereas Ole Miss right now has got on the heavier passing and RPO sections and the double option stuff that involve the jet sweep in the inside zone. So they're just in different chapters right now. The playbook, which is okay, they're doing that based on personnel. So it's really going to be kind of, is KJ Jefferson fully healthy? Is he going to be able to make an impact with his legs? He wasn't able to do so a week ago. When he can, like he did against A&M, that offense really goes for Arkansas. Matt Corral, they're gonna, he's gonna have to shake the demons of last year's 6-pick game against Arkansas. Their drop 8 scheme, things like that. He's gonna have to contend with that. Ole Miss might have to be a little bit more patient this week. Maybe not take as many risks and just allow Arkansas to kind of beat themselves. And of course, the kicking game. Like we can't forget about the kicking game. Like Ole Miss Ole Miss can gain an edge there because Arkansas had a lapse there last week. And when you have a tiny chink in the armor there, it can be exposed. Like their punt protection, like that kind of thing can be exposed, or like maybe they get a big punt return somewhere, or maybe on a kickoff they you take your risk there or something, or maybe you fake a punt when they're least expecting it. Things like that. Try to get through in that third phase there of special teams. So to me, I think whoever if Ole Miss can turn this thing into a track meet, they're good to go. If they can't, Arkansas is going to make it a game, and Arkansas still may not win, but it's going to be a game.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to remember when you're watching this, these are two exact mirror images. If Ole Miss had a running quarterback in the offense, their offense would look exactly like Arkansas is doing. If Arkansas had a passing quarterback, it would look exactly like Ole Miss is doing. It's the same tempo. Kendall Briles is on one side, Jeff Levy's on the other. It's all the Baylor system. The difference is Ole Miss has the 10 or so plays that are lane plays. That are designed to win in a matchup like that. But on the back, the defensive side of the ball they're both drop 8. So I am curious to see who can stop the run. The J-Boy Show, I don't think he's different because he talks about the offenses being the antithesis of each other. But he does have a point to where the team that can stop the run is the team that's going to have the upper hand in this game.
Mm-hmm. And Sam Pittman kind of brings that bully ball aspect of the game to Arkansas. That's kind of what he learned under Kirby Smart. But I think you have it's going to come down to the contrasting styles of the head coach. And I think that's where J-Boy was driving at when he said the antithesis, because Kiffin's going to have that offense with a little bit of flair on it. Pittman's going to have a little bit of aggression and bully ball,
a little bit of nastiness,
a little bit of just complete disgusting nastiness on there. Like we're gonna kick you in the teeth and then knock you around. And Lane's gonna be like, this is like, bear with me here. Showtime Lakers, Boston Celtics, 1980s. Arkansas is the Celtics. Ole Miss is the Showtime Lakers. Both teams were physical. Both teams were very similar in the style they played. One had flair, the other had grit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
So this is Celtics Lakers. Yeah. So just style of play. Not saying that Ole Miss has Magic and Kareem over there. Arkansas has Larry Bird. But they do have a superstar quarterback who's in the Heisman race at Ole Miss. But
Yeah, he's a Magic type player.
But yeah, so you look at this matchup, and it's going to be kind of that whole deal, and so and then you look at love the Georgia stuff in the background. You got it, man. This is like a good friend of mine gave me. No, crap. That it's a pastel painting from the Rose Bowl where Nick Chubb, they were doing that whole celebration there. I don't know if you can see it, but that's the exact mileage from that point to Sanford Stadium. So from my house to Sanford Stadium, that's the exact mileage. This picture is very relevant for this week. It's Uga attacking an Auburn player. And Steve, you should recognize the scarf that's hanging. And that is a press pass that I had it was a field pass. There we go. Titans Falcons preseason game field pass.
If I'm not mistaken, it is that.
Not quite, but yes.
Not quite. It's the other one. I've got about 10 scarves, so that one.
Okay. No, it's not an American Outlaw scarf.
Okay. Okay.
I bought it at the first ever U.S. soccer game I went to.
Yeah, me too. I don't know where I put that thing. I've got a USL scarf, by the way, and a Nashville FC one back here that nobody can ever see, and of course my Ole Miss scarf.
There you go. Look at you, man. You're a scarf. Are you standing in front of the TV holding your scarf up every day?
Yeah, I sing with an accent of some take a nursery rhyme that everybody's known of, like something from Mother Goose, and then I change the words up and sound like a complete imbecile. That's what I do.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine gave me a 2nd and 26 picture. Just turn the dagger.
Good.
Turn the dagger, Jake. Turn it. Crank it. Turn it 360 degrees. No.
Between that and 28-3. Good grief. I don't know. I don't. Sorry, bud.
The Georgia sports curse, man. It's a real thing. It is a real thing. So speaking of Georgia sports curse, actually that had no segue there. That was the anti-segue. South Carolina, Tennessee. Can Tennessee make it 2 in a row? That game is going to kick off also at it's a noon kick, a noon local kick for on Rocky Top. I know you are, Jake. It's okay. South Carolina comes into town. South Carolina is a team that's playing hard for Shane Beamer. They just don't have any bullets in the gun. Tennessee, we thought, was in the same boat, but apparently their boat goes a little bit faster. And Steve, you and I talked about this ad nauseum back in the summer when we first cranked this thing up about Josh Heupel and the hire and what it means for Tennessee and what we think it would look like for Tennessee. And I stand by my belief that their style of play is going to lend them to at least 2 victories this year with limited personnel. It's gotten one. I think it'll get a second here.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to lend itself to 2 losses playing the style that they play. And I think that happened against Pittsburgh. That was probably one.
They didn't have the right quarterback either for most of the game. So.
Well, yeah. But the tempo that they play offense with is going to affect their defense. And Kenny Pickett has turned into a Heisman candidate all of a sudden if we look at ACC After Dark.
I mean, you beat Georgia Tech, man. You put your numbers up against them, man.
Yeah. Nobody named Kenny Pickett is going to win the Heisman.
Pickett's last charge, right?
That's not a good thing, though.
Is it?
No, that's a whole bunch of people dying in Gettysburg, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check my notes.
I was a history minor.
Yeah, that's not a great thing. That's not a great thing. So they should probably stop that campaign, right?
Yeah. It's not the best. Nobody named Kenny Pickett is going to walking around with the Heisman Trophy.
Well, I don't have to worry about the University of Pittsburgh hiring me for their Heisman campaign marketing.
Yeah, if Larry Fitzgerald didn't win the Heisman, Kenny Pickett is not going to win the Heisman.
No. If
Do
Mike
they play
Ditka
Clemson?
didn't- probably.
Hmm.
Yeah, they do at some point. That'll be that might be a 13-10 game there too. Damn, Clemson can't score. But no, back to Tennessee.
William Ricky McKnight is watching, so we have that going for us.
There you go. He is. Thank you, William.
Hmm.
You're watching. Now, what do you think? So yeah, unless you're Clemson, then you suck it up number wise against Clemson or against Georgia Tech. Yeah, DJ Ogilvy is broken beyond repair. That's ACC After Dark. That's our sister show on. I don't know. I can't finish.
He's Kyle Allen did.
Yep, he's just broken.
Mm-hmm.
So, but can Tennessee do it for the second week in a row? I think they can. I think they're going to cover on this. I'll talk about it more in the picks, but I think they found the right guy with Hendon Hooker, and of course that run game that always helps as well. When you can run the ball in this league, it's always good. Tyon Evans, Jabari Smaller, a good 1-2 punch. That's going to lend them to kind of calm down their super fast tempo and use it more effectively to where it helps them win more than it hurts them and causes them to lose. Because of that, like I was worried that if they didn't have a viable running game, that they were going to turn into, 3 and out and only bleeding 25 seconds off the clock type team. They're not like that. They can run the ball a little bit. They can move the chains a little bit. And at least if they bog down, they've killed more time than just 25 seconds. So they've got that at least going in their favor at this point. Hendon Hooker's also a running threat as well. So they've got kind of a three-headed rushing attack there. They're trying to find some receivers that are going to emerge and be big-time playmakers. I don't know if they've found that yet, but they're getting some production there as well. So Tennessee's a team that really intrigues me here, but I do think they just have a little bit more. I think style of play here is going to win this game against South Carolina. I don't think the Gamecocks are going to be able to handle the tempo, especially on the road and especially in those dark mode uniforms.
Yeah, and as long as Tennessee can get some production out of Featherstone, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope you're right. It's going to look a little different than Missouri just because I think South Carolina is better at, just up the middle, stopping the run. So it'll be interesting to see if Tennessee's style of offense that they finally found here can work against a slightly better defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to run up 62 on South Carolina, but they will cover that spread. So I'm excited to kind of see. I'm intrigued to kind of see what this game looks like. But a game that I'm not very intrigued by, and the only reason I'm going to talk about it is it's such a ridiculous spread. The spread, I think, is almost 40 in favor of Florida.
Lay them.
Lay them points. Lay them points. I don't think, the only reason I pause when I say that is because I'm not sure Florida can score 40 points. But who knows?
If any team's going to give them the chance, it'll be Vandy. So.
That's true. It's Vandy. it's Vandy. Just don't pick. Just pick against Vandy. Don't pick against Georgia. Don't pick against Alabama. Pick against
Vandy. That's 3 teams you should be guaranteed throughout this whole thing.
Yep.
You'll get burned once or twice during the season, but I don't think this weekend is one of them.
No. And then Missouri against North Texas. The Mean Green come to town. This is we thought this was a get-well game for Missouri, but maybe it's a find-yourself type game. But Missouri's only favored by 19. Well, they're favored by 19. So this will be interesting to see kind of what they look like, how they regroup and respond to nothing short of what was just an ass kicking. So nothing really of note there. LSU, Kentucky, we kind of alluded to this. Coach O's in trouble, man. This LSU team is in danger of finishing DFL. Anybody care to translate that? Will know exactly what I mean. But Kentucky, again, just they got to find, if they want to win this game, it is in the grocery bag, but if they want to win this game, they've got to figure out themselves offensively. They've got to find some more production They've got to find somebody besides Wandell Robinson and Chris Rodriguez that's going to contribute offensively. And they've just got to be able to move the ball. They're not moving the ball. They took advantage of Florida's mistakes. They can't guarantee that LSU is going to make all of those same mistakes, even though they probably will. But they can't live on that all the time. Like, they've got to start creating opportunities for themselves. We've got to see some big numbers out of Will Levis. He's got the talent. The scheme could be good if Cohen can just figure out how to pare it down. I'm not necessarily done with Kentucky. I was about to be done. But it's I think they're going to win this game, but Kentucky's they just find a way to win somehow. They just find a way, and that's how Kentucky rolls, and I love that about them. But it's not sustainable. Like, they're 16th in the country, they're 5-0, but it's not sustainable living we're going to figure out how to win. They've got to figure out how to be more efficient and effective. And DFL is not done finished last. Just think of it as I would get fined big time by the FCC if I said the middle initial of DFL.
That's the only word I can guess. I don't know the other two.
Dead effing last.
Okay.
Yeah, Kentucky needs to stop Keon Butte, and that is about it. If they can do that, they're going to win the game. It doesn't matter what they do. LSU struggles defensively. If they can't do that, LSU is going to be competitive and have a shot to win the game.
And Kentucky has a chance to play. They have a chance to play bully ball here too, because LSU. We saw that against UCLA. They're susceptible to that. So that's kind of the formula right now, and or just treat Keon Butte as people did with Kobe. I'm going to use another Lakers reference here. They just let Kobe go off and stop everybody else, and Kobe can only score so much.
Problem with that is Kentucky can only score so much.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Because Kenny Trill.
Kenny Trill,
and
Kenny Trill in Bill Callahan's offense. So there you go. But yeah, so I still like Kentucky. I think they're very resilient. They're gritty. They just figure it out. God love them. So, and the last game, week 6, before we get into our picks, Alabama and A&M, a game that we circled preseason going, okay, Alabama's going to have to run this 2-game gauntlet of Ole Miss and Texas A&M, and they may run this gauntlet with 2 blowouts. They probably will. They're favored by, 18.5 on the road at Kyle Field. That's insane. I never thought I'd see a line like that. Even in the worst days of Kevin Sumlin, they always had tight lines. Or tighter lines, I guess, or more conference appropriate betting lines. This is like a non-conference betting line here, where it's like they're going against the bottom of the barrel in the Pac-12, which A&M's playing like a bottom of the barrel Big 12 team right now.
Yeah, we've talked about how Bill O'Brien is more like Jim McElwain than like Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin and even Mike Loxley. I mean, the offense looks completely different. And I think you might see a little bit of murder ball in this game. I think Alabama's going to play a little bit differently. I mean, after last week, it's going to change their identity a little bit, and you're going to see a little bit murder ball, and they're going to be more effective doing that. As long as the defense shows out. There's no threat from Texas A&M offensively. If you can score 30, you're going to probably win 30-0, 30-3. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that and just kind of results getting chewed up by Alabama moving forward. And our Alabama-Georgia game, when does that one get on the countdown clock? And everybody looking for that.
Now.
Yeah.
So Bill O'Brien, I think Yeah, we will bet. So I think that with Bill O'Brien, it was kind of a similar situation as Kentucky. I think it took a minute for this offense to kind of sink in with Alabama. Now, obviously, the learning curve is a lot less steep in a place like Alabama because that's the standard that Nick Saban demands. So they look a little bit sharper as they're learning, but it still looked real clunky at times, and I think that's where all our questions came in. Um, I think this was kind of like the turning point of, okay, we have to look sharp. Like Lane Kiffin poking the bear made them say, okay, learning curve over. Let's just freaking play murder ball and let's go. And Bill O'Brien's like, cool. And so it's basically a version of what he did with the Patriots when he was with the Patriots as the OC. They kind of played that style of murder ball, short passing, just move the ball down the field however you need to, and it looks very much like that. And I've been super impressed with Bill O'Brien. I will admit, I was very skeptical of that hire. I thought it was, but again, he seems to kind of figure it out. I think Nick Saban just kind of forces you to do that and forces you to figure out ways to move the ball and to be effective. And I just don't think that standard is held at a lot of programs around the SEC or around the country, really. So you get some of these coordinators who are who they are. Nick Saban forces you to adapt. That's how much pressure he puts on you, and that's why it works. Like Sarkisian could not be a screw up because Nick Saban would not allow that to happen, and these guys don't want to feel the wrath. It's part of the process. It is absolutely part of the process. Kirby Smart has instilled that at Georgia. He had to choke out Jim Chaney and James Coley, and they crumbled under the pressure and they were gone. And Todd Monken is a strong-willed person. He is not. He has gotten better. He's adjusted, and now you look at where Georgia's offense is, which is in a lot better shape than it ever has been. And Kirby's been able to relax a little bit on that side. You haven't seen Kirby's meltdowns like you did in the first 2-3 years of his tenure at Georgia. So there is something to be said about the head coach's influence with the offense, not necessarily with the scheme, just forcing these guys to adapt and say, hey, this is the way we got to win. This is the way we got to win. We're good at it. We're going to do it. We have guys that are capable of doing that. Our guys are going to take on this challenge, and here we go. And they've done that. And A&M, I don't know what's going on there. Like this is the biggest shocker to me because they went from being a contender to DFL, and this is going to be an ugly game in Kyle Field. This is going to be one of those where A&M fans walk away going, are we really paying Jimbo $10 million? Like, we got to rethink that.
Yeah, this is the game. This is the game that could break their season. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Alabama other than the fact of what's going to happen.
Alabama's the agent of destruction here.
They don't have enough money to Jake. They don't have enough money to afford to get him out of there. They owe him $100 million to fire him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're stuck with him. Like he signed a 10-year deal.
Yeah,
for $10 million per. Like this is
with no buyout.
This is not a great situation. The A&M's stuck.
Yeah,
like, they got to hope he leaves on his own, and which is not going to happen because he's making $10 million a year. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And let's just talk about the worst case scenario.
It is
that is what's going to happen to them at the hands of Alabama Saturday, mixed with the fact that Texas may be about to boat race Oklahoma on the same day.
That very well. Let's talk about that game. Let's talk because that's an honorary SEC game. So let's go ahead and talk about it. It's the Red River Shootout, which I don't care what you say. It's the Red River Shootout. No showdown, not rivalry, not what. It's the Red River Shootout. That's what it's always been. It's in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. A team that's 5-0 in the top 10, which I'm not sure how they're still 5-0. They eke out a win over K-State without Skylar Thompson. If Skylar Thompson's there, K-State probably boat races them. Uh, they're
Again.
again they're a banana peel away from losing to Tulane. West Virginia is in a rebuild under Neil Brown, which he's doing an actually good job at West Virginia. They're just when he took over, they were just in shambles. But he's doing a good job over there. They almost slip up and get him. They're a couple bad calls away from losing that game. And then, they had a couple good games in there in between. But I think when you look at this Oklahoma team, I don't buy them. Like I thought, hey, they get Eric Gray, they're going to be good. They've got a few pieces on defense that are pretty good. They might have a pretty successful season here. It's a weak conference, but yeah, I'm not their quarterback's a head case. Spencer Rattler is not good.
They are Alex Grinch away from being 2-3. I mean, honestly,
that dude needs to be a head coach somewhere next year because he is keeping them afloat.
And
because they're bad, they're not like he is. They're holding on by a thread.
Just barely. I think they're 0-5 against the spread this year. Which I'm not going to pick Oklahoma again this season. I don't care what they do and how they burn me going forward. I am not picking Oklahoma one game the remainder of this year. And I guess that gives away my pick segment. But it's just one of those things. Because West Virginia, a bad snap, a drop touchdown pass, and I believe a fumble down in the red zone. And they lost to Oklahoma by 5 points in Norman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way everybody was talking about Oklahoma at the beginning of the season versus now, it's very telling. They look like they were going to be one of the best teams in college football, and they've just been bad. I mean, not bad enough to lose their games, and good for them for that, but not good.
They were my preseason number one. If you look at the talent they had returning and what was going on and how this was going to go, and the talent they had defensively, and that conference, how they can change it. Now they're still 5-0.
Yeah,
but they're winning games. And Florida State, honestly, I will say this: Florida State found ways to win games with Jameis Winston. The year they won the national championship, they seemed like they were always in trouble, and they found a way to eke out a win. Ended up going to I think at that point it was the BCS championship. I think that was the last BCS. But that's how Jimbo made his $10 million a year off of that season. But I don't have a lot of faith in them at the moment. They don't have many weapons. I think they have 2 scholarship running backs, and they do not have a game breaker, believe it or not, on the outside. That's the weirdest thing you can think of saying when you're talking about Oklahoma.
And it should have been Jadon Hazelwood. That was a big story of them wriggling him away from Georgia back during his recruitment. He's an Atlanta kid, but that was. He's been disappointing for the Sooners. I mean, they got a kid from Nashville, from Ravenwood, Reggie Grimes on their defense. That's balling out pretty good, but he's one of the few bright spots. He went to he played at Ravenwood, but when you look at this Oklahoma team, I just don't see it. I really don't see it. I don't see the energy. I don't see the focus. I don't see the competitive spirit like they had. It just seemed like Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, and even Baker Mayfield was able to get all those personalities and get them going in the right direction. And like they played, like Spencer, they mirror Spencer Rattler, right? Mm-hmm. They've mirrored their quarterback. Like Baker Mayfield is cocky, right? Almost to a fault. Sometimes to a fault, mostly like he galvanizes those guys. He makes them play with it. He makes everybody play with a chip on their shoulder, right? Kyler just plays confident, and Kyler steps in the hall. He's like, I know we're about to do this. Let's go, right? And they were like the Kyler team was more showtime, and then Jalen Hurts was like gritty, like he's just resilient. Like they just slugged you with they were a more like physical, just nasty team with Jalen Hurts. They were a physically, it was like a freaking air show with Kyler Murray, and then Baker Mayfield they were just scrappy, chip on their shoulder. You know, they're the underdogs against everybody on their schedule. It didn't matter who it was; they were underdogs in their mind, and that got them to the Rose Bowl and almost won that Rose Bowl. So they've had a lot of good quarterbacks that Lincoln Riley's been able to channel that energy. Now you got a kid that was born on third base with his physical talent at quarterback and thinks he hit a triple. And so and he's a head case because of it. Like he's on a show called QB1 that's on Netflix. I mean, the kid is just he was screwed from the start, man. Like he thinks he's one thing and he's not. He gets booed at home. The team just plays flat with him. They're just flat. Like he just kind of walks in there. Doesn't look like he really cares. They're just flat, and that's how they play.
I think they're a loss away from benching him, probably.
They really are.
But remember last year, he was down just like this year, and then the second half of the Red River Shootout, he came alive and was a different player for the rest of the season.
But that Texas team, that was the culture there was just super weird because you had Tom Herman as a head coach. He was a super odd guy, kisses his players, and this just a weird situation there. Just a very like it was a very boring team. They kind of just were up. Texas was kind of up and down as a program under Tom Herman. That was just kind of their way, and they allowed Oklahoma to do that. I don't think they do that with Sarkisian. I think Sarkisian has brought the process to Texas, and they're buying in big time. And Bijan Robinson is becoming one of my favorite players in the country. And I love this Texas team. Colin Thompson is playing really good football right now. I watched a little bit of their game with TCU last week. It was incredible. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Texas in this scenario.
If Oklahoma's defense has any holes, you're going to see Sarkisian go at it over and over and over again. So, yeah, be prepared for that. This could be the beginning. This could be the beginning of the end in college football for Lincoln Riley, because he's a guy I think that's going to strike while he still has a star that's soaring. I think he's in the NFL next year.
Yeah, it's getting a little stale for him at Oklahoma. I think he needs a change of scenery. I don't know that he'll do well in the NFL, but I think maybe if I'm Lincoln Riley, I think long and hard about this USC opening. I think he would be a great fit out there, honestly. But picks.
Yes, picks.
Picks. These picks are brought to you by Cassidy Thomas. No, so all right, as we go through our selections, we've probably given away most of them, which, it is what it is, I guess. As we go into our picks, as you guys get excited about it, it's brought to you by Land Shark, apparently. And I maybe need to drink some more of that because I went 4-6 last week. My overall record's 31-28. Jake has now gotten one win ahead of me. Jake has gotten ahead of me. Jake had a 5-5 week. Steve, you were also 5-5. Jeb, you were also 5-5. I was 4-6. Craig was 6-4. Israel was 4-6. Kevin had a rough go at it. He was 2-8. And the other guys are what they are. But Steve, you missed on Ole Miss, Florida, A&M, Vandy, and Oklahoma. I missed on all of those, including LSU. Jeb, you missed on the same ones Steve missed on. Shocking. Jake, you missed on Arkansas and Mizzou. You should have listened to me on those. You said you hit on Alabama. You missed on Florida, A&M, and LSU. I listened to you on LSU. I got burned on that. I should have picked Auburn. I wanted to. All right. But here we go. Steve, South Carolina at Tennessee. I think you kind of gave away your pick, but your final decision is what?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Vols. I think the running game is going to be so much. They can't really score with Tennessee. I think the tempo is going to get to them. South Carolina has a good defense. Tennessee is going to probe them with the running game. I really like Tyon Evans. And I think they do enough in the passing game to kind of keep it honest and pull out the victory. Even though it's a 10-point spread, 10.5-point spread, which is a lot for Tennessee. I think Tennessee gets there.
Absolutely, man. Jeb, your final answer.
Yeah, I agree. I think South Carolina's defense is better than Missouri's, so it won't be a blowout like last week. But Tennessee seems to have found themselves offensively, and I think they're going to be able to cover this spread this week against the South Carolina team that's not really that good.
And Jake and I will make it a clean sweep there. I'm picking the Vols as well. 10.5 is a good number for Tennessee against South Carolina. I think Tennessee has found a balance between their high tempo and the running game. I think they've got something going there. They just need to continue to polish it. So give me the Vols minus 10.5. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is a clean sweep of the Florida Gators. Minus 39. I'll start with you, Steve. Why?
Because they're playing Vanderbilt, and I will never pick Vanderbilt to cover a spread this season. This is a game that's going to be 45 or 49-3, and Florida's going to do it running the football and not put Emory Jones in a dangerous position. Also, after last week, Dan Mullen is going to want a feel-good thing, and covering the spread will do exactly that.
Jeb, why? Do you agree with that?
Man, every week I think Vanderbilt is at least going to put up a fight. I've picked them every week, and I have been wrong every time. There's just no fight in this team this year at all. Not that I see.
No, there's not. Well, they have an android as their head coach.
I am a coaching robot.
I am Clark Lee. We are Vanderbilt, and they stole the mojo from the baseball team. That's not a good thing. They need to go back to the Star V.
Maybe they took the mojo from the baseball team.
Yeah, the baseball team's going to finish DFL too. All right, our next game, Arkansas at Ole Miss. I think we kind of alluded to this game, but surprisingly, we all picked Ole Miss. Looks like we all agree a lot this week. But we all picked Ole Miss because
7-point spread. I think Ole Miss is going to dictate. The game's at home.
It's a 5.5 point spread now.
Oh, 5.5-point spread. But it's one of those things. Arkansas is thin behind Trayvon Burks and KJ Jefferson. If either one of those guys are a little bit off their game, Arkansas is on a lot of problem. Will struggle to score points. So I'm taking the Reds. Kevin, by the way, is taking Arkansas. He's the one person on the network right now that is taking the Hogs.
As he should. But yeah, I think Ole Miss has got a little bit more depth, especially at the skill positions. I think they're a little bit stronger up front. I just think that they were in a better spot when Lane Kiffin took over versus when Sam Pittman took over. Even though Arkansas has closed that gap significantly, I just don't think it's closed enough. And with a 5.5 point spread, I think that favors Ole Miss at home. So that's why I'm taking the Rebs.
Yeah, I agree. Arkansas, despite what happened to them this last week, has played really well this season. I could see them stepping up and having a great game here. But if I have to guess, I'm gonna think Ole Miss has just got too much offensive talent for them.
All right. Another clean sweep there. Another clean sweep on the Plains. Georgia 15.5 point favorite over Auburn on the road. We're all picking Georgia. I'm picking Georgia because of the talent difference up front. I think Georgia's offensive line is going to bully Auburn's defensive line. And I don't think anybody's been able to block Jordan Davis, and I don't think it's going to start with Auburn. And I don't know that they have the system to go laterally, which is what you do against a big guy like that. But when your linebackers run the way Georgia's linebackers run, that's going to be a difficult thing to do. And Jordan Davis is not going to have to run, really. So I'm picking Georgia. Because I just don't think Auburn has enough firepower. And think Bigsby is banged up, so give me the Bulldogs.
No, I agree. Georgia's moved into Alabama's realm of pretty much must-takes every week, just with how they're playing. And Auburn is so up and down. I mean, they have a rough game against Georgia State where they have to pull their starting quarterback. And then next week he comes out and looks great, but he's not going to be able to do what he did this week against Georgia. That won't work at all. So I think Georgia ends up beating them pretty solidly.
So your Blue Man Group's not going to win. Why, Steve?
If you look at it, if you want to be generous about this, let's be generous about this. Auburn scores a touchdown. Not many other people score a touchdown. Auburn scores a touchdown. Can Georgia score 24? I think so. I mean, 24-7, Georgia covers the game, so I'm going to take the Georgia Dogs.
Yeah, and this is going to be another kind of drop eight, drop zone type of coverage. That's kind of Dan. That's kind of Dan. That's kind of Derek Mason's style there. So, our next matchup is basically a pick'em. Kentucky is favored by 3 at the grocery bag against LSU.
Go
LSU is
Big
in
Blue. Go
LSU
Big
is in
Blue.
complete turmoil. We don't all agree on this, but Steve, you and me and Jake all agree that that BBN, Big Blue Nation, is going to pull this out, mostly because Coach O is going to be at Keeneland before the game, maybe. Not really, but I just think LSU they've got some issues. They don't have any playmakers outside of Keon Butte. Defensively, they struggle against the run. And what is Kentucky best at? The run. That's why I'm taking the Wildcats. Jeb, why are you taking LSU?
I'm not going to catch up to you all in the rankings by taking the same teams as you every week. So I had to pick somebody different.
No
LSU
risk it, no biscuit, right?
And LSU has a ton of talent, so they have the potential to come out and have a great game. Kentucky is one of those that has played not great. They just finding ways to win, which is fun to watch. But any week now, that could fall apart on them. And maybe this
I feel
is the
like
week.
I feel like they've already quit on O because you can't have all this talent and look this bad.
And that's very
Yeah.
possible.
I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And we all agree on Bama minus 18. Just A&M is just in the tank right now. They just don't. They have no firepower. Their defense is. I don't know what's wrong with their defense. Their defense is vastly underachieving. It feels like they're falling apart. And Bama, this is not the week to be reeling, in my opinion. So I think they're gonna reel right onto a blowout here. I think we all picked Bama. Is there any other reason that I'm leaving out as to why we like Bama here?
I like Bama because it's less than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. This is another one of the game. Can Texas A&M score a touchdown?
They might score a touchdown. I think they can score 10.
Maybe.
I think
They can score 10 with a statue back there playing quarterback?
I think they can score 10. They'll get
Okay.
lucky and score 10.
Okay, we'll give them 10. This is one of those games. Can Alabama score 28?
Absolutely. In the first quarter.
Yeah. It's just take Alabama.
In the first quarter. They can very well score.
A&M's
28
broken.
points.
You're all right, bro. A&M's broken.
Yeah, they are. They're very, very broken. So our comments. Oh, so now you pick Bama. Well, sometimes you can't guarantee when your education is going to happen. My education has happened now. I know.
I would take Ole Miss plus 15 again this week.
We know that, Steve.
Yeah.
That's okay though. Yeah, Lane Kiffin pokes the bear. So, North Texas at Missouri. Missouri 19-point favorites. We all agree on Mizzou here. North Texas is bad. They're bad.
Ask
Mizzou-
Arkansas. Wait, no, don't ask Arkansas.
And Missouri can score, so
Yeah, Missouri can score. They can,
can't stop anybody from scoring on them.
yeah. So we alluded to this. Texas, Oklahoma, Red River shootout. Oklahoma's somehow 3.5-point favorites at the Cotton Bowl. I don't buy it. I'm picking Texas for the reason of they're going to be able to run the ball. Colin Thompson is a viable threat to pass, unlike Hudson Card, who was their original quarterback. Texas is showing me some grit. They're showing me some creativity. They've got some pizzazz. They are playing to the style of their head coach, which is very creative. They play hard. They play inspired football. This is not the same Texas team that you've known under Tom Herman or even the late Mac Brown days. This Texas team is on a different level. With the way the Big 12 is going right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see them sitting at the top, to be honest with you. So I'm taking the Longhorns.
Yeah, I think despite the fact that you've already seen Texas lose one this season, they're a lot more fun to watch. They just look like a better team, where Oklahoma kind of looks like they're a good team that is just stumbling constantly and at any point could fall down. So I'm going with Texas in this one too. I just like watching them more, and so that's who I'm going to be rooting for this time.
And with Beecham back there, you're dealing with the Texas team with an elite football player. So it's really fun to watch him play. I mean, you almost have to take Texas. They're begging with Oklahoma a 3.5-point favorite. That, just take the underdog and enjoy it, because I think Texas will be putting on the gold cowboy hat.
I think so too, and I hope that. I told you guys I would surprise you. This is the Fox Big Noon kickoff. Probably the reason game day is not in Iowa City. But the Hawkeyes welcome the Penn State Nittany Lions. The Hawkeyes are 1.5-point favorites. I think that's just because of the home venue. It is a pick 'em. Steve, who you got?
I'm taking the Iowa Hawkeyes, Alan. I think they were very impressive against Maryland last week, and they kind of are starting to show that they belong in the playoff rankings. But either Iowa or Penn State are going to fall out of this rankings. And before we move forward, I think ESPN has found something with coming out of game day into these 11 o'clock kickoffs. This is the third straight week they've done it. This might be a big noon kickoff, but the Red River Shootout is the ESPN College Game Day game, and it's 11 o'clock. So last week, I think, was the highest rated college game day since they went to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So they may be finding something's working. At 11 a.m., the 11 a.m. kickoff is becoming the new primetime kickoff in college football right now. Sorry for everybody, because I know y'all hate 11 a.m. kickoffs and y'all think of JP, but that's just the way it is.
I'm here for it. If it makes for a better show, then by all means. I'm taking the Hawkeyes as well. I think the home crowd at Kinnick is going to be the difference maker. I think they're two very similar teams. I think Iowa's better at running the ball, and so I think that's going to give them the upper hand. Goodson is, again, one of my favorite backs. Tyler Goodson is one of my favorite backs to watch. This is a hell of a running back matchup with Noah Cain versus Tyler Goodson. Both elite running backs and for Big Ten standards, and it's going to be a fun one. I think the traditions that Iowa have with their wave to the Children's Hospital and the pink locker room and all that stuff. I think it makes for an interesting thing. And then, of course, you add James Franklin into this mix, and you add the fact this is a top 10 matchup. Iowa City is going to be bumping. So you're going to hear Gus Johnson yelling out onions on this broadcast, which is also fun to watch. So I'm going to take the Hawkeyes here as the home team. Jeb.
I'm going to agree that I think Iowa and those big boys up front are probably going to be the team that ends up winning this one. But again, I'm not going to catch up on the rankings by going with the safe pick. So I'm picking Penn State to pull off a slight upset here and take this Iowa team down.
All right. Jake, I'll go ahead and put your pick in. I'm going to sit here awkwardly while Jake thinks. Let's just all stare at the chat.
Jake's like, this 3 dots just pop up in the chat.
And then we all watch with heavy anticipation. Come on, Jake. Come on, Jake. You got this, buddy. Jake, who you picking?
Penn State took out Auburn for you. Come on.
Jake,
that might be the problem. He's going with Iowa.
He don't want to admit it, man. He's going with Iowa. Jake, where'd you go? Now you leave, huh? Now you abandon us. Now you go sit down and watch Below Deck.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
And there we go. There we go. Penn State. Cassidy, who do you like? Who does Cassidy like? Now we really wait with anticipation. I want to see the chat light up with all of our picks from the surprise game. But as we do that, we're going to close the show here. This was a fun one, guys. Steve, I'm sure you're about ready to get rid of that houndstooth. That's why I've tried to stretch it out to a 2-hour show just to make you sit
Yeah, seriously.
a little bit longer. But we are SEC After Dark. We are simulcast apparently now, so I'm interested to see how that does. Our numbers are growing. We thank you for that. Make sure to use Steve's verb, evangelize this show, talk about it, shout from the rooftops. SEC After Dark. That's the way to go. If you want good, honest, genuine opinions from three guys that have fun, and the people that are in the chat as well, it's truly a fun show. And if you're looking for one of those, here you go. And we cover the best conference in the land, the Southeastern Conference. We represent three different teams. It's not like we're all Ole Miss fanboys or all Tennessee fanboys or all Bama fanboys or insert SEC team here fanboys. We come from three different perspectives. We've got the Alabama angle covered in the chat, and then we've got Tennessee and Arkansas also well represented on the network, as well as Ole Miss. This network also welcomes biscuits in the SEC, and that's an up and coming blog.
Yeah,
So
their preview will be. We're going to record that tomorrow night, but it'll be Friday night at 6.
Absolutely, and you don't want to miss that. Those guys they're super interesting. Their blogs are very fun to read. So if you get a chance to follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook, and go check them out. So, but we are coming at you on the Pomcast YouTube, Positively Ole Miss YouTube channel, the Believe in Dogs podcast channel as well on YouTube. Hit that bell. Follow us on Twitch. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We're broadcast. If there's a platform that streams, we're on it. Let's just put it that way. We're on it. And apparently there's a Patreon. You can if this thing gets big enough, I'll join Patreon, do some behind the velvet rope type stuff, behind the scenes. You can go behind I'll call it behind the AOL disc. How about that?
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, inside the AOL disc. So I'm trying to prolong the sound to background. Is it working?
Yeah, 800 AOL hours.
Yeah, there you go. So I think it's about 7 a.m. now, so I gotta get ready for work. But no, so we like I said, we are SEC After Dark. Shout it from the rooftops. Our social information is right down there below. Hit the bell, hit the notification, let you know that we are live, let you know that there's new content, not only with this show, but the other shows on this network and on the Believe Network as well. So for Stephen, Willis, and Jeb Beecham, I'm Corey Burton. We are SEC After Dark. We are on Willis Digital Media, home of the Pomcast and the family of network. This show is also, the hot takes were also brought to you by Landshark and Sprite Zero. So we hope you have a great rest of your week. We hope you have an even better weekend. And as always, I would like to say so long and go Dogs.
Hotty toddy.
Go Big Orange.
VFL. VOLSVO.